guys, let's get started with today's webinar on staffing marketing ROI.
Well, thank you so much, David, and thanks everyone for joining us today. We have a jam-packed webinar today. We honestly have about 2 hours of content that we're going to condense down into an hour. So if we're going too fast or we don't cover a topic in enough depth and you have additional questions, please feel free to use that box on the right to submit your questions throughout the presentation. We'll try to answer those during the presentation and then try to leave some time afterwards. And I also encourage you after the presentation, if there's questions or again something that we didn't cover and you want more information on, give us a call. We'd be happy to sit down with you. Greg and I will both be available and we can answer those questions. So let's get into today's agenda. We're going to start off by looking at the tools at your disposal. When we talk about online marketing, you have plenty of tools. You have your company website. You have social media, search engines. There's social review sites. There's a lot of tools right now that you have at your disposal. We're going to talk about why you should care about each of these tools, what role they play. We're going to look at what's working in each of these areas and what's not. And then finally, we're going to wrap up today's webinar with talking a little bit about measuring ROI. You're doing all of these great things. How do you know if they're working? We're going to show you how. So your online marketing toolbox, you've never before had as many tools from a marketing and sales perspective as you do today. At the center of everything is your website. We like to think of your website as the hub of your communication. You have all these other tools, social media, email marketing, social review sites. All of these should drive traffic back to your website where people can learn more about your services. They can take action. They can see what types of thought leadership you offer, and they can reach out and contact you. Next at your disposal is social media. It's a hot button right now. Everybody hears about social media. You know that you should be doing it. We're going to talk about how. When you think about social media, it's not just Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn. Social media also consists of social bookmarking sites like Dig and Delicious. YouTube is a social media outlet. WordPress or blogs could be considered as social media. Flickr and other photo sharing sites like that are social media. What it is a two-way communication tool. It allows you to push information out, push photos out, push blog posts, push comments, updates, and it allows people to respond back to you. We're going to look closely at search engine optimization. And when you think about search engine optimization, you can ask yourself this one question. When somebody searches for staffing services in your area, are they going to find you or are they going to find a competitor? That's really the goal of search engine optimization. We want those people to find you instead of going to one of your competitor websites. We're going to look at something called social review sites. Some of you in larger markets may be well aware of social review sites like Yelp or Glassdoor. Some people in smaller markets may not have run into these before, but people are using these more and more. And as you see in this example, even this one staffing firm out of New York City has some very complimentary comments on their social review site. In this instance, this particular candidate has worked with 2 other staffing agencies who were atrocious, and this particular staffing firm was a breath of fresh air. In this review, there were probably 5 or 6 or 7 very positive reviews and 1 very negative review, which I've highlighted here. And in this negative review, it calls out one specific person. What's so important about social review sites is that you know what conversations are happening. You want to know when people are saying complimentary things about your company, and maybe even more importantly, you want to know when there's an issue so that you can reach out and solve that. In this case, it may have made sense for the company to have an individual conversation with the recruiter that wasn't getting very good reviews. Okay, so those are the tools at your disposal. What I want to talk about now is really why should you care? Everybody knows, social media is the hot button. You've heard about search engine optimization and why it's important. But really, why should you care from a business case? And quite frankly, everyone, or nearly everyone, is searching online and researching online before they make a purchase. Compete.com, which does a ton of online surveys, found that 94% of people they surveyed do research online before purchasing something. The simple fact is that before somebody is going to do business with your staffing firm, before somebody's going to apply with you, they're doing some research to make sure that they're making the right decision. If they find your competitor first and their competitor has more compelling information, has a more professional presence online, has better reviews, they're going to go to your competitor instead of you. So that's why it's so important that you pay attention to your online reputation. Greg, if you wouldn't mind, there's some interesting stats about search engine optimization. Can you walk through those for us a little bit?
Sure, no problem, Brad. These are some quick stats for you. Right now you can see 90% of people use search engines to research the products or services in their local area. That's a very large, very pinpointed audience. You have a large audience you can get in front of with fairly low effort on your part. You can really use that to focus on closing instead of looking out for new prospects and candidates to fill your orders. That's one of the really important and useful things about search engine optimization that we've experienced.
Thanks, Greg. Yeah, so search engine optimization, as Greg mentioned, could be potentially one of your top performing sales reps. If people are searching online and you come up well in Google results and people are finding your site when they're searching for the services you offer, that eliminates the cold call. Those people are already warm leads and they're reaching out to you, so it can be a very, very powerful tool. All right, let's take a look now at social media. Why should you care? Besides the media talking about it, really, why should you care? And MBA Online did some interesting research about how professionals have found their latest job. And it found that 16% of employees found their current job through social media. And that might not sound like a big statistic, but it increased 20 to 25% in 1 year. So it was at about 10 or 12%. It's at 16% in just a year. A year from now, we're probably going to be over 20%, and you can see where this is going. More and more job seekers are using social media to find a job. And it may not be simply looking for jobs on social media, but it may be reaching out to peers, reaching out to people that they're connected with to see if they have any job leads. So it's very important that your firm has a presence on social media outlets and that you're top of mind. 90% of people that are looking for jobs have a social media profile. Again, they may not right now be using it to actively search for jobs, but if you're getting jobs in front of them, it may catch their attention. And just this past year, 50% of job seekers used Facebook as a job search tool. It's a very high percentage. Let's dig down a little bit deeper and look at how people are finding their jobs. I mentioned a minute ago that people may be using social media to reach out to their peers. The number one way people have found their current job is through referrals from professional or personal contacts. As more and more communication is happening online, those conversations are moving from the phone to social networks. So that 36%, social media is going to have a big impact on that. Internet job boards, internal job listings, company career sites, these are all very important factors. They're all tied to how your jobs and your company are positioned online. Nearly 9 in 10 job seekers have a profile on a social media site, and 54% have used Facebook, Twitter, or LinkedIn to find jobs. Again, if your jobs aren't there and your competitors are, there's much more potential that they're going to land at your competitors instead of your website. And our last slide here on why social media is so important shows some really compelling and to me surprising statistics. I couldn't believe the amount of people that were actually job hunting by network. Facebook, you're over 18 million. Twitter, over 8 million. And LinkedIn, over 10 million people say they got their current job through LinkedIn. That's more, as this graphic shows, than the state of Michigan. And at Haley Marketing, we actually have a success story using social media to hire too. And Greg, if you wouldn't mind,
Sure.
Walk us through that. Tell us about how you found Haley Marketing Group.
Actually, I saw a job listing on LinkedIn when I was at lunch, just browsing through on my iPad real quick, and jobs you might be interested in section. It was interesting enough of a post that I just ended up attaching my resume and sent it to Haley. And shortly after, I got a call from David. This particular thing was really it basically gave it a way to speed up the process a lot faster. You can, with me, it sped up the process of finding a job. With someone looking for hiring new candidates and stuff like that. It speeds up the process of maybe finding the candidates before your competitors do. If you keep on online and really attached to the social media outlets, you can really find a tech-savvy candidate, someone that's really skilled in more than just the standard media. And a lot of times you can get a lot of good good resumes out of it. So.
Yeah, thanks, Greg. There are some interesting studies out there that show that a lot of the candidates that find your position through social media end up being slightly more qualified than those through other mediums. So I think social media is a great way, as Greg mentioned, to cut your time to hire and reach a unique segment of the market that is out there actively pursuing new career opportunities and actively pursuing ways to advance their career, so you can get in front of a great audience. All right, let's move from social media to social review sites. Again, these are sites like Yelp and Glassdoor. As we mentioned a few times so far, consumers are becoming more educated before they decide to work with a company or before they decide to make a purchase decision. And eConsultancy, which does some research, found that 55% of consumers are more likely to make a purchase if they see a good or very good rating for your company. So from your perspective, if you have candidates that shoot you over an email that says, hey, Sue, I wanted to thank you so much. You were able to find me a terrific job, and you were a pleasure to work with. That's great, but if you can get them to leave that review on a review site like Yelp or Yahoo Reviews, it can have a huge impact on your brand or your favorability when somebody is looking for your firm to help them with their career search. Consumer reviews are 12 times more trusted than descriptions by the company. And what that means is, on your current website, you're probably talking about how great your services are, and they very well might be terrific. But if you can get one of your candidates to say that instead of you saying it, it has so much more value. So again, the importance of getting your candidates to have a voice, a positive voice out there, can reap a lot of benefit. 70% of people are consulting reviews or ratings before making a purchase. Again, it ties back to people doing more research. If your competing firms in the marketplace have much better reviews and results, who is that candidate or that employer going to call? They're probably going to call your competitor. So it's very important that you have a presence there, and very important that you know what people are saying about you. And as I mentioned earlier, in a lot of the bigger markets, Boston, LA, New York, people are very commonly using sites like Yelp. In some smaller markets, it's not as frequent, but it's growing. The top 10 review sites just over the past year grew 158%. So more and more people are turning to these sites when they're doing their research. So again, get ahead of the curve, make sure that you have an established presence there. And with many of the review sites, the more reviews you have, the higher you will rank on the list. So when somebody types in New York staffing agencies, if you have 100 reviews, you're going to end up at the top of the list, and you'll have more visibility there. So try to encourage your clients and candidates to leave good reviews for you. All right, so now we've talked about all of the tools at your disposal. Let's dig a little bit deeper, and we're going to walk through what's working and what's not working with each of these tools. And to start, we're going to start at the hub. We're going to look at your website. And brochure-ware websites aren't good enough anymore. And what I mean by brochure-ware websites is a site that is flat, that's static. Many staffing websites out there have a homepage. They have an About Us section that gives some company history, maybe talks about the founders a little bit or other employees. Maybe you have a services section and a job seeker section and a Contact Us page. It's a pretty flat site. It tells basic information similar to what you would include in a brochure. Innovero, which does some great studies in the staffing industry, and you're probably all familiar with Innovero, they did some research into what your clients and prospects really want. And what they found is that your clients and your candidates and prospects are looking for industry-specific staffing trends. They're looking for salary info. They're looking for hiring trends both in industry verticals and local geographic markets. They want white papers, best practices. They want research. They want data. If your website doesn't have this, you should get it, because they're actively seeking that out. And if your competitors have it and you don't, they're going to frequent your competitor's site more often. So how do you get all this good stuff onto your website? Some people think you need to be a programmer or a website developer. You really don't. So one thing that's really working for a lot of our clients is adding a blog to their website. And what the blog does is it gives you the opportunity to add all of this great content. You can add white papers, you can add articles, you can share interesting statistics that you've seen. And you don't have to be a website programmer. You log into your blog, and it's as easy as typing into a word processor. In this specific example here, this is a company out of Sacramento. What they've done is said, you know what, we want to position ourselves as an expert in the marketplace, an expert on employment trends. So when somebody wants to find out, what's the employment market look like, we want them to come to us to get that information. So each quarter they do a survey of people in the marketplace, and they break the survey up by industry, they break the survey up by large employers and small employers, and then they use this data to put together some great posts. They not only highlight this on their blog, but it gets pushed out to social media, and several local newspapers pick this up and run this story. So it positions this company as an expert on employment trends in the market. And as we'll get into in a little bit, a blog has a ton of search engine optimization value. We'll break that down, but it's extremely important to include fresh and relevant content through your blog to improve your search rankings. All right, what else is working? Getting beyond a flat site, you can create custom landing pages. In this particular example, this landing page has a great giveaway. This company put together a workforce strategies guide that talks about all the different ways that staffing services can be leveraged beyond simply as fill-ins. So it walks the hiring manager through exactly how to use staffing services to make them look great. They use email marketing to get people interested in this guide. They use search engine optimization. They use social media. What this does is it turns their website into something of value. People are coming to this, and they're simply adding their name and a little bit of contact information, and they can download this great guide. So it's a win-win. The client or prospect gets some outstanding information that can help them in their daily job and can help their company. And the staffing firm gets a warm lead. So everyone that fills out this form, they get followed up with a call to have a more in-depth conversation about their company and their hiring needs. This is what turns your website from just a brochure-ware site into a lead generation tool. All right. Next up on our list, and building off the last form, this is a request an employee form that we put on a lot of our clients' websites. And what this does is simply makes doing business with your company easier. A lot of times people don't want to pick up the phone and they're too busy. If you can make it as easy as possible for people to place an order with your company, you'll get more orders. This simple form doesn't get a ton of traffic, but on average, I would say our clients are getting anywhere between 50 and 100 orders a year through a simple form like this. It's no work, but it gives clients the opportunity to do business with you more easily. And if you could get 100 new orders without doing anything except having this page on your site, I'm sure you'd all love that. So this is a great way to do it. All right, we're going to take a look at job listings. And jobs are extremely important to get to your website. And Greg, why don't you walk us through why job listings are so important, both from a traffic standpoint and from a user experience standpoint?
Sure, Brad. Currently, we collect data on about 250 staffing websites, and typically search job sections of the websites get between 40 and 70% of all web traffic. Now, that alone, just optimizing for that search jobs page, it's apparent that it helps you out a lot. Jobs typically are keyword rich. They have a ton of search engine optimization value. It gives you actual terms that people are looking for with your job listings. Each job posting can help you raise your rank in search engines. And another nice thing is internal job boards can help you trim overall recruitment costs. They can bring down some of the efforts of your salespeople so that they can go after these warm leads that you've already gotten from your contact us page or whatever else. And you can, again, focus on closing those warm leads rather than going out and finding new prospects.
Thanks, Greg. As Greg mentioned, an internal job board on your website will help you drastically reduce recruitment costs. You may find that as you're posting jobs to your website, you're getting all of the applications you need and can handle. You're getting qualified people. So you can look at cutting your spend on traditional newspaper advertising or maybe your spend on job boards. If you can get the job up on your site and get all the qualified candidates you want through that medium, you can, again, reduce your recruiting spend a lot. Greg, once your jobs are up on your site, what else can you do to drive a little bit more traffic to those?
A lot of times you can highlight top jobs on your homepage. Sometimes as you see in this slide, there's actually a top jobs in the little red box there. It's a dynamically updated top jobs. Each job that goes into your job board gets basically pushed from the job board into this little box. It's a little bit of a scripting code and stuff like that, but it helps not only keep your visitors interested, keep them coming back to see the new jobs that are available, things like that, but it also helps with the search engines. It keeps lots of good fresh content going in there, and it keeps Google crawling over and over again. Every time it finds new fresh content, it likes to go in and see if it misses anything. So you can see that visitors coming back, fresh search engine content, and with that, with the human side of it, it really creates a loyal following and even brand advocates if you keep people up to date and keep people interested in what you're putting on your website.
Terrific. Thanks, Greg. In this example that we've shown on the Tally Group site here, this is actually a job board that Haley Marketing provides. And one of the things that it offers is an RSS feed. And whether you have a job board through one of your software providers or you use our job board, many of them will have an RSS feed. And what RSS stands for is really simple syndication. And it allows for you to post your job up on your website and also feed that content to other places. So in this example, we're feeding some top jobs right to the home page. As Greg mentioned earlier, anywhere between 50 and 75% of overall traffic to your site is from candidates searching for assignments. So we want to make it as easy as possible for them to find those top jobs. That RSS feed allows us to serve jobs up to the home page, right where people can get them with one click. On top of that, you can feed your jobs to social media outlets. So we can feed jobs to your Facebook page or Twitter account. And again, what that does is helps you trim some of your recruitment spend because you're getting your job up on your website, people are finding it there, and they can also find it through social media outlets. So it's giving you more exposure.
Brad, if I can jump in for a second, we can with a real case study on that. Was talking to a client of ours in Virginia, and they said by taking those jobs, using the RSS feeds, pushing it out to Facebook, Twitter, social media, as well as job aggregators like Simply Hired, they were able to cut between $2,000 and $4,000 a month from what they were spending on job posts.
Wow, that's amazing that they were able to cut that much. But it shows you how valuable that tool can be. And from an ROI standpoint, there's no better return on your investment that you can get than some free recruitment advertising. Thanks, David. Our next slide here, we've talked a little bit about blogging already, but really what blogging does is it allows you to add fresh and relevant content to your site. And it's probably the easiest way to turn your website from a brochure-ware site to a true resource. So in this particular example, this company, Penguin Staff, we're on their blog writing about restaurant breakfast trends. And Greg, you work with a lot of our blogging clients on developing content plans and strategies. Why in the world would we write about restaurant breakfast trends, and kind of walk us through the process when you're thinking about blogging and content?
Sure, Brad. This is actually a really nice example of trying to keep visitors interested. If you write about just specifically to, just looking for candidates or just looking for recruiters, new clients, people get, they don't feel as genuine about your blog. A lot of times you have to keep people interested enough to come back. If you offer visitors something that they're interested in or something worthwhile that they might use, then they don't mind being sold to here and there. You know, you can still leverage your blog to get your point across, but at the same time, you need people to come back. And with that, they eventually you grow a loyal following, and with their familiarity, you become top of mind with these people. So it's a great thing to keep people coming back, keep people top of mind, and keep you top of mind. And just generally feeling goodwill between you and your customer.
Great, thanks, Greg. This particular client is in the hospitality industry. So when we look at writing content for their blog, we're thinking about what their clients and what their candidates are interested in. So their clients are probably interested in what their customers really want. So that's what we're writing about on the blog. So restaurant breakfast trends may seem like a very odd topic to write about on a staffing blog, but it's providing information that this particular client's clients really want, that are actively looking for, and it positions Penguin staff as a leader in the hospitality industry. It lets their customers know that, hey, we understand your business, we know what your clients are looking for, and we're the best source for talent for you. So, you know, while it's not talking about how to use Penguin staff services, it's providing valuable information and helping position Penguin staff as a trusted provider. All right. We're going to kind of build on blogging a little bit. Blogging is a great way to add fresh content to your site. It's actually extremely important when you think about search engine optimization. It used to be that with search engine optimization, content was king. So if you had some really great content on your site, you were able to climb in the search rankings and get much more targeted traffic to your site. Now Google just released a new algorithm change, and content's still king, but fresh content is really what's king. So you need a plan to continually add content to your site that is fresh and that's relevant. Greg, if you wouldn't mind, I know you do a ton of research and trying to stay current on what the search engines are doing from an algorithm standpoint. Walk us through some of the major changes in their recent update and how it affects staffing websites.
Sure, Brad. As you can see, this is actually dated the 3rd of November. So this is quite a recent change. It's a change that's actually affected 35% of all searches within the entire search community. Industry experts have actually confirmed this with Google. And one of the biggest things here, you still want, as you said, Brad, good content, but you want fresh good content. You have to, blogs are a very good way of doing this. And with that, we've even seen some massive changes even in Google, or I'm sorry, Yahoo has actually changed how a lot of their companies have been organized due to this index. So it's not just the normal people like us or a typical small staffing firm. It's even search engines have changed due to this recent algorithm change.
Yeah, when you look at 35% of all searches being affected, what that means is even if 2-3 months ago you were ranking very well at the top of search results, that may have changed when Google implemented this algorithm change. So it's extremely important that you stay up to date with what's going on in the search engines and that you continue to add great and relevant content. As Greg mentioned earlier, we track stats on anywhere between 200 and 300 staffing firm websites out there. So we have the fortunate ability to kind of take a look at trends over a year or two, and Google said that fresh and relevant content is affecting their algorithms, but unless you actually have the data to know that, you can only take Google at their word. So what I'm going to show in the next few slides here are actual data from staffing and recruiting websites that show how Google's changes have affected search traffic. In this first example, you'll see that from August 10th to about, August 2010 to December 2010, this particular client's web traffic was fairly flat. You always have kind of peaks and valleys, but it was fairly flat. In December of 2010, they started blogging. They started getting aggressive with posting good content to their site. They started getting aggressive with using social media to distribute that content, and you can see what happened from there. Their overall search traffic, so the visitors they were getting from search engines, continues to climb each and every month. And the line right underneath that, the blue line, the number of different keywords people are using to find their website has gone up dramatically as well. So before, there were only a handful of different keywords people were using to find their website. Now there are almost 600 different keywords that people are using to find their site. So they're ranking for a wider variety of terms, and as a result, they're getting a ton more traffic. In fact, they've increased traffic 155% in a few months. And here are a few more case studies. This particular client is a clerical, professional, and light industrial firm. And, right off the bat, I think light industrial, I'm thinking that a lot of people probably aren't using search engines. They're not using job boards to find traffic, and that's incorrect. A wide variety of people are using search engines and job boards and social networks to find positions. It's not just professional, it's also light industrial people. In this example, they've been blogging for about 1.5 years now, and they've seen a 230% increase in targeted traffic from search engines. And the last case study I'm going to show you, or second last I should say, is a case study for a specialized recruiter. So this particular company recruits in a very niche audience. So they're looking for a very specific type of person. They generally have lower overall website traffic because, again, it's a very small audience that they're looking to target. So when they started blogging about topics in the industry, similar to the example I showed you of the hospitality industry, what they saw is a huge increase in the number of people within that small group, that small niche industry, begin to find their website. In this example, over 700% increase in targeted traffic from search engines. So as a recruiter, if you're recruiting in a very unique industry, it can be an extremely powerful tool to get in front of your audience and get more targeted traffic back to your site. And just to kind of show you a control sample, we look at sites that continue to add fresh content, and then we compare that against sites that are static. And what we've seen is that sites that are continue to add fresh and relevant content, on average, they're getting between a 200 and 300% increase in overall traffic. And sites that don't blog, that have brochure-ware sites that just have About Us sections and a service section and a job seeker section, their traffic has been flat over the last year. And this is just an example of that. Again, I mentioned there's always peaks and valleys, but if you look at the trend here, it's pretty flat, and if nothing else, it actually decreased a little bit. So if you don't have a plan in place to continue to add good, fresh content to your site, your traffic is going to, at best, probably remain flat, or at worst, decrease, and some of that traffic is going to go to your competitors. So that's why it's so important that you pay attention to what you're adding to your site and make sure that you invest in getting some great information up there.
Brad, if I can add one thing to that last slide as you're moving on. We recently took a look at one of our clients in Atlanta, and that the number of keywords people were using to find their website, it's interesting in your example here that it's relatively flat at about 175. This particular company over a 3-month period had 732 different keywords being used to find their company. And of those 732, only 40 had some derivation of the company's name in the search terms, meaning 692 search terms were used that had nothing to do with the company's name. That's traffic that if they had not been blogging would have gone to a competitor.
Yeah, that's a great point, David. And we're going to get into specifics about blogging and how it really affects SEO in a little bit. And it just gives you more and more opportunity to rank for a variety of different keywords instead of just 1 or 2 keywords. All right, great. So we talked about what's working in blogging. Let's look at what's not working in search engine optimization. Greg, can you talk a little bit about what's not working in SEO?
Certainly, Brad. One of the things that's not working in SEO is just sitting still and ignoring it. Whether you've optimized it years ago or optimized or never have touched it, that's as you can see, things have changed over the years, and even in this graph that we're showing right here, people that haven't optimized it, you're actually losing traffic due to even the last algorithm with the fresh content update, resting on your laurels. You may have ranked number 1, 4 or 5 months ago. Keep checking. Make sure that you're still ranking number 1. With new changes, there were over, I believe there were over 550 algorithm changes last year with Google, and each change brings a different relationship from your website to the search engines. You could be up one day, you could be down the next. Keep track of that. Make sure that you're keeping your website up to date. Ignoring your analytics reporting. Analytics can show you a lot of things. They can show you people who are interested in your site, what works, what doesn't, different types of trends, and when people are looking at your site. Not staying up to date on search for algorithm changes. Again, like this large update here, it needs a freshness content or a freshness update. Content is always important, but there's always changes. You always have to keep track of it. And then optimizing for the wrong keywords. If you show up number one for a term that no one else is searching for, the only person that's going to be happy for it is you. Optimizing your site for actual terms that get traffic that may or may not be apparent to you. It definitely makes your life easier and makes companies searching for you services and candidates searching for a job much easier for them, and they're more likely to become a visitor of your site.
Yeah, building on that, you want to make sure that you're using terminology that they use and not yours. Some of our clients hate the word temp, but their clients and candidates use it, so you may want to mix that into your keyword strategy. So Greg, we talked about what's not working in SEO. What are the things that when you look at a website you're looking at, what are the key SEO factors here on a page?
Well, on the page, we're looking at keyword-rich meta titles. Right at the top, it's something that not a lot of people that visit your site are going to be looking at, but these are very important things to Google and Yahoo and Bing. If you look at it, San Diego staffing, San Diego recruitment, San Diego employment agencies, these are all very keyword-rich terms that are sending people that are looking for San Diego employment agencies to your site. Another big factor is keyword-rich URLs. If you can see, it also says San Diego Staffing Employment Agencies. It's another reinforcement of the same type of keyword, giving another vote, if you will, to your rank. Keywords and headlines, H1 tags are very important. Just because you have a bold statement in your copy doesn't mean it's a headline. It has to be an H1 tag or some sort of H tag. It's actually coded into your website, and I know that it may not be quite apparent, but that's definitely something that you'll want to have. Keywords to link to other pages in your website. This gives you an opportunity to move back and forth between other pages in your website. If you have something that this page says temporary staffing is over here, you're talking about temporary staffing on this page, and you're also talking about temporary staffing on the other page. This gives a relevance factor to your site. If Google's looking at it, they say, okay, well, this one person has temporary staffing on one page, but this one has temporary staffing on both pages, they're going to be the one that ends up ranking higher.
Yeah, so when you include links on your website, instead of using words like click here, use a word like temporary staffing and make that your link. So great, thanks Greg. When we look at actual Google search results, a lot of the elements that Greg just mentioned will show up in search results, and you can see two examples here. In purple, the headline that says Lawton Group, Staffing, Recruiting, HR Consulting, this is your meta page title. So when Greg mentioned meta page title on the previous page, this is where it shows up in search results. Greg, walk us through keyword descriptions and why they're important.
Sure. Keyword-rich meta descriptions are also important. It basically gives a little description to your visitor that's searching and to Google. You don't actually see it within your site. It's written in code behind it, but typically the visitor sees the first two lines of your meta descriptions. And if you look here, you're looking at San Diego's top staffing. You can see San Diego and staffing bolded, and that's what Google's taken in order to find the most relevant search result.
Yeah, so it's important not only to include keywords in this, but also make sure that these descriptions are compelling. Think of it as a billboard. You're trying to, now that you rank on this page, you're trying to get somebody to actually click on that. Okay, great. We're going to transition from SEO. Well, there's actually one more slide on SEO, and Greg, I'm going to kind of breeze through this slide because I know we're running a little short on time. We mentioned the importance of blogging. Every new blog post that you add to your site gives you more chances to rank well in a search engine. So it's a new page or a few new pages on your site. The more pages you have on the site, the more opportunity you have to rank well in search engines So add a ton of content. You'll have a ton more opportunity to rank well. As Greg mentioned in a previous slide, you need to use keywords to link to other pages in your website. Don't just say, click here to learn about our temporary services. Use temporary services or temporary staffing as the words that you're using as the link. And then down at the bottom of a blog post, you have the opportunity to add something that's referred to as a tag. And what a tag is a way to categorize information. So when somebody gets to the bottom of this post, they can see what other posts in your blog share a similar topic. If you use keywords in your tags, you're adding not only keywords to this page, but each new tag that you add creates a new page or new section on your website that's optimized for that keyword. So it gives you the opportunity to create not only a blog post, but create 5 or 6 other pages on your site just by using tags. And we could spend a whole webinar just on blogging, but that's a real high-level overview. All right, we're going to transition now over to social media and what's not working in social media. And one thing that's not working is a bad or missing profile graphic. And I apologize if this is anybody's Facebook page on the call here. I just grabbed one at random. But there are a lot of companies out there that have created a Facebook account and have done nothing with it. It doesn't look professional. If you're going to create and start that page, at least get some good information up there. Infrequent updates can hurt you. No likes or followers can hurt you. So if somebody comes to the page and sees only one person likes you, it can have a negative impact. No activity on the page is bad. And conversely, beating people over the head with jobs or irrelevant content is bad. People hate nothing more than somebody controlling their status updates or their wall when they log into Facebook with information that's not relevant to them. So if you're posting 50 or 60 jobs to your Facebook page each day and that's getting pushed out to people that follow you, you're going to find that people will start unliking you because they're inundated with that information. All right, so what is working in Facebook? And this is an interesting study the company did. And they looked at what happens when people come to your Facebook page? Where do they go? Where do they spend the most time? And they start with your profile image and your profile graphic, and then from there they go immediately right to look at the information that's there. So what's really important is that you have a good Facebook profile image. You have room for more than just your logo there, so make sure that you use it. And here are a few examples. The first two are staffing and recruiting firms, and the other two are very popular brands. But in each example, what they've tried to do is pull through a compelling tagline or value proposition or show the face of the company. So in the first example, People Link, they've even included their phone number. They want to make it as easy as possible for people to contact them. Use your profile image as a way to differentiate your firm and get across your personality as a company. All right, what else is working? In that study, people start with your profile image and then they go immediately right. On most Facebook pages, when they go immediately right, they'll see your wall and they'll see your posts there. But they don't necessarily have to. Facebook allows some customized options, and they allow you to create a custom welcome page. So when people don't like your company already and they come to your Facebook page, you don't have to take them to your wall. You can take them to a page like this, a custom landing page. Greg, walk us through. You worked on this project. Walk us through why you designed this the way that you did.
Well, what we've learned out, going through many different Facebook pages and the industry experts is typically who looks at Facebook pages is candidates. The thing that you want to do first is make sure people like you. There's a giant arrow pointing there, like us. It's first and foremost in the page, and that's the first action you want them to take. If you look down below it, it's a fairly clean design, very little data, but just a little bit of snippets to entice people. Below that, there are 3 hyperlinks: search jobs, submit resume, and job seeker resources. Those are the 3 actions that you want them to take. And making it simple, making it effective is basically what this page is all about.
Great. Earlier on, when we were talking about websites, we talked about making it easy to work with your company. In Facebook, make it easy for people to take the action you want them to take. You want them to like you, show them exactly how to do it. And then from there, once they like you, do you want them hanging out on Facebook or do you want them searching for jobs and applying? Think about those things and then design your custom welcome page around those goals. Okay, great. So what else is working? Updating your wall. I mentioned earlier not to post too many jobs, but if you post a few jobs a day, 2, 3, 5, I don't think that's too many. Just don't overdo it. If you post 40 or 50, you're going to find that your likes drop off. Share photos. That study I mentioned earlier, they found that great compelling photos get a lot of attention. People stay on those posts much longer, and it drives their eye in. So whenever possible, include a photo. You can see a few examples here. They're not just Facebook updates, but they've included interesting photos. If you do an Employee of the Month, get a picture of the employee, do a little write-up, and it'll get much more attention. You can link to helpful articles. You can link to blog posts. I just did a study in inspirational quotes. Simply, grabbing a quote from Ben Franklin or someone else can get a lot of attention, and it will even get people to like it, comment on it, and share it with their friends. Okay, let's transition from Facebook to Twitter. What's working? Twitter allows you to create custom backgrounds and custom graphics. You don't have to stick with the default Twitter background. So when at all possible, create a little Twitter icon that maybe is part of your brand, or maybe if you're an individual, it's a headshot, a professional headshot. But use those tools to customize this to share your value proposition, or even share your contact information so people can reach out to you for more information. Hashtags are also something that works in Twitter. Hopefully a lot of you are familiar with hashtags, but what a hashtag is simply the pound symbol and a word. It's a way for people to search Twitter and tweets to find information about a specific topic. For example, when Charlie Sheen went off the wagon there for a while, there were posts all over Twitter with the hashtag Charlie Sheen or the hashtag winning, and people were able to search for relevant tweets because of that hashtag. For staffing and recruiting firms, one thing that you'll want to do is, if you're feeding jobs out there, include your geographic region, your industry, if you recruit in a specialized industry, and the word job or jobs. This will give people an easy way to search for jobs in the local market. Twitter also isn't just a tool to talk about, what you had for breakfast or where you're standing in line or some silly thing like that. It can be a great lead generation tool. A lot of companies out there will post job opportunities and hiring needs out to Twitter. You can use Twitter's advanced search tool to set up and save searches. In this example, we set up a search for tweets with the word hiring or need in it. We are searching around the Dallas area within a 50-mile radius, and this is returning tweets out there of companies that are now hiring in and around the Dallas area. It can be a great lead gen tool for your team. All right, so on LinkedIn, again, we could probably spend a whole webinar just talking about LinkedIn, so we're going to cover some of the high-level things. That study that I've referenced a few times, they conducted on LinkedIn too. And surprisingly, on LinkedIn, people aren't looking at your photo first. What they're looking at is your title. So make sure that your title is keyword rich. Make sure it has words like staffing, specialist, recruiter. If you're in a specific niche industry, make sure you include that terminology in your title. Your title is indexed by the search engine. So again, make sure you have keywords. Next, if your profile isn't 100% complete, make sure you fix it. You have this nice little graph there that will show you whether or not your profile is complete. If it's not, find out why. I mentioned that your profile is indexed, so make sure that you use keywords not only in your title, but in your description. When you talk about your job duties, make sure that you include words like recruiting, recruitment, recruiter, staffing, temp. Use all those different derivations of keywords to make sure that you show up when somebody's looking for a recruiter in your area. Updating your status frequently, number 4, can make sure that your name is on the top of everybody's list when they log into LinkedIn. Number 5, connections. If you don't have over 500 connections, you're not trying. As staffing professionals, you talk to a ton of people. You're great at networking. Bring all that good networking skill online. Every time that you talk with somebody or trade an email with somebody, whether it's a candidate, new prospect, connect with them on LinkedIn. Send them an invitation. It takes 2 seconds, and it's a great way to build your LinkedIn network quickly. And last on this list, make sure that you integrate everything that you do. You have the opportunity to include links to your website, your blog, your job board, Twitter. Make sure that everything's connected. All right, so we're going to transition from personal LinkedIn Twitter pages to company pages. Over the last few months, LinkedIn has really stepped up in what you can really do with your company page. You can now not only share personal status updates, you can share company updates. So all that blog content that you're generating, push that to your company LinkedIn page. You'll find that more and more people will begin to follow your company and stay up to date with what's happening at your organization. On your company page, people can now recommend you as a company instead of your recruiters. A lot of people are worried about when their recruiter leaves, what's going to happen with those contacts. Well, people can recommend your company now. Make sure that they do. You can use the spotlight area to add some interesting information about your company. And then down below, you have the ability to add different services. You can share more detail about divisions in your company. If you offer temporary, temp to hire, and direct hire services, make sure that you list them all here. The last thing on LinkedIn that I want to cover is LinkedIn groups. They're extremely powerful. Make sure that you join groups in LinkedIn that are relevant to your geographic region or your industry. And think about things like local SHRM chapters or IT groups if you're in IT staffing. And look at what conversations people are having. If they're asking questions, answer them. Take your blog posts and put them up, post discussion topics. And once you're a member of a group, you can also send invitations to other group members. So it's a great way to increase your connections and connect with people that you're really trying to reach. Okay. I've been getting this question a lot. What's Google Plus, and is it worth my time? Quite honestly, I don't know yet. It's so new that we don't know what impact it's going to have, if it's going to steal market share from Facebook. But what I do know is they're very powerful, and they're going to put a lot of resources behind Google Plus and making it relevant. So what I would suggest doing right off the bat is making sure that you claim your company name on Google Plus. If you don't claim it, your competitor might. I'd insert a quality profile image just like you would with Facebook. And again, those studies that we mentioned show that updating in Google Plus with images can have great results. Draws people's eye in and gets them to interact with what you're posting. I don't have time to go into more detail on Google Plus, but if you want, we recently put up a blog post, and the link is on this slide here, that has some more tips for what you can do with Google Plus as a staffing firm. All right, the last thing we're going to cover under what's working is something called Google Remarketing. And what Google Remarketing is every time somebody comes to your website, you can have a cookie placed on their machine. From there, what you can do is have ads from Google's ad network served up to that person as they navigate across the internet. So they might go from your website to YouTube. You can have ads show up on YouTube for your firm. And what's great about this is that you can have your ads only show up for people that have expressed an interest in you. So they've already been to your site. You've invested all these resources to get people there to your site. Now stay in front of them. So you stay top of mind. Helps you target warm leads, gives you huge exposure, and there's relatively low cost. In this example, we spent under $100 to get in front of people 30,000 times. If anybody has more questions on this, I have some great information for you. Reach out to me after the webinar. All right, so we've talked about all these great tools. Now let's look at how we can actually measure results to make sure that what we're doing is working. The first thing I'm going to suggest you do is go to Google Alerts and create an alert for your company, your recruiters, your competitors, and your clients. This is a free tool that's going to help you stay abreast of what's going on in the industry and what people are saying about your company, your recruiters, and your competitors. So if you know what people are saying, you can react appropriately. The other thing that you can do is set up a free social mention alert. This helps you keep track of what conversations are happening on Facebook and Twitter. Again, great free tool. Set up those alerts for your company name and your recruiters. And probably the most comprehensive tool that you can install on your site is something called Google Analytics. If you don't have Google Analytics installed on your website right now, I really suggest you get it. It's going to help you determine exactly what impact all of your online marketing is having, and we'll dig into some key statistics to look at now. So key stats to track. The one thing that we're looking at is time on your site. How much time are people spending on your site, and is your site interesting? For staffing firms, I'd want to shoot for an average of about a minute to a minute and a half. If your average time on site is lower, maybe look at why it's lower. And we'll get into how you can tell what pages are not having a great impact. The next thing you want to look at is bounce rate. You want to look at are people leaving when they get to your site. Bounce rate is somebody that gets to your site and they leave after visiting just one page. If that's the case and your bounce rate is high on certain pages, you need to evaluate that page and figure out why. And last on this slide is new visits. Are you attracting new people to your website? And this is going to tell you if your search engine optimization efforts are working. So if people are searching for staffing services in your area and they click on a Google link and get to your site and they've never been there before, you'll know that, that your SEO efforts are working. So Greg, I'm going to kind of pass this off to you. I know you're an expert in analytics here and looking at this data. Walk us through some of the other key metrics that people should look at, and then we'll wrap things up.
Sure, Brad. One of the things you might notice is this is basically the page where people leave. A lot of times the home page, as you can see, number 1 is typically the most left page. Index is also the same page. Typically, people come in there and either they find what they're looking for or they don't. That's typically what happens. Another thing you want to look at is looking to see which pages are the most frequently left. If people aren't staying there, then maybe there's something you need to do with the page. Let's say they're going to an About Us page, and that's coming up as a very high exit page. Look to see if there's too much information. Is there too little information? Is it organized in easy to read format? If people are leaving the Contact Us page, are they leaving after doing the thank you page, or after they're actually submitting it, or are they leaving because they found a phone number? You know, there's a lot of different ways that you have to really look to see your specific page. There's no magic term, but
yeah. For example, if your online application you see a huge number of exits, you may find that your online app is too long and people aren't taking the time to fill it out. So that you may want to address that. Certain pages, like Greg mentioned, will naturally have a high exit rate. Your Contact Us page, they're probably coming there to find your phone number, so a high exit rate on that page is normal. Great. Greg, talk a little bit about traffic sources overview.
Sure, no problem. If you look at this page, a lot of times you might expect 54% search traffic. You might expect 100% search traffic. If your salesmen are doing their job, that's probably not the case. A lot of times you're going to look at search engine traffic, referral traffic, which is other sites referring your site. And things like Indeed or AdWords, things like that will refer traffic to you directly. Another thing is to look at is direct traffic. Direct traffic is when people are going directly to your site. They know your site already. They know where they're looking for, and that shows that your branding is working too. So
yeah. Overall, this gives you a great idea of how your website is performing. It will tell you if the spend you're making on recruiting websites is driving traffic to your site. It'll tell you if your search engine optimization efforts are paying off and if your branding efforts are working. So great high-level stats to look at. And you can even drill down a little bit farther and look a little deeper into some of these things. We mentioned search engine optimization traffic. You can come in to Google Analytics and look at specific keywords. So you can dig down and see exactly what keywords are driving traffic to your site. When we talked earlier about the importance of optimizing your site for the right keywords, this will help you determine if you're doing just that. So you can look at are people using terms like staffing agencies in your marketplace to find your site. If they are, terrific, keep doing what you're doing. If they're not, what you want to do is see where you can include those keywords more. Maybe it's on your blog, maybe it's in your meta tags and meta titles, but this is a great way to find out what you're doing right and where you may need to improve a little bit. The next area that we want to look at is top content, and what this does is gives you stats for each page of your website. And as Greg mentioned earlier, you want to look at things like your percentage of exit rates or your bounce rate. So if a lot of people are leaving on a page, and let's say they're leaving on the employment agency's page, and they're not filling out a form or apply online, maybe you need a better, stronger call to action there, and you need to take note and look what you can do to improve those individual pages. As I mentioned earlier, we tried to squeeze a lot of information into this presentation. We're right at the hour mark. What we'll do is stay on the line to answer any questions if anybody has them. But please, I encourage you to reach out to us offline here. Give us a call. Greg and I would be happy to expand on any topics that we mentioned or answer any questions that we weren't able to cover in this webinar. And then you'll also be prompted with a survey after the webinar. If you could take a moment to fill out that survey and include any questions that you'd like answered, we'll be sure to follow up with you and schedule a time to talk with you, or just shoot you an email with answers back. So I want to thank everyone for joining us today. And make sure to stay on the lookout for our next lunch with Haley. And David, I think you may have a topic that we may be covering on our next lunch with Haley.
Yeah, we're just finalizing plans for a webinar on video marketing in conjunction with Adam Peterson from Vipe. So that will be coming up in January. We're also finalizing the schedule for all of the first quarter 2012 Lunch with Haley webinars, and we should have them up and live on the website probably by around Christmas time.
Terrific. David, were there any questions that we wanted to answer?
Nothing else so far. Brad, one question that I had listening to you is just, you've got all these things to look at, and where's the best way to figure out how to invest your money?
Well, that's a great question. It probably starts with the last section of slides we had there, your Google Analytics. If you have analytics installed on your site, what I do is analyze that and see what's really working for your company, see what's not, and then base some of your marketing decisions off of that data. If anybody on the call needs some help with that and kind of interpreting data, Greg and myself would be happy to kind of walk you through that and give you some guidance. But that's where I'd start. And then as far as, biggest bang for your buck out of all the things we talked about today, I think it's got to be blogging and adding fresh content to your site. So if there's, one takeaway from this webinar, it's that, you need to put a plan in place to continually update your website and make it a destination.
Great. And that builds on one other thing that we've been talking about in-house, and that's the common perception of people of, I want to be on the first page of Google results. And, and our response is, for what? We've got, as the example that I shared earlier, a company that was found for 732 different keyword strings. Which one of those do you want to be on the first page of Google results for? You really have to focus less on, I'm going to be the top for staffing in my marketplace, and more on, I'm going to show up in the top of results for all the different ways people might search for me. And that's what today's webinar in large part was about, was how to figure out how people are finding you so you can maximize your marketing spend. Well, Brad and Greg, thank you very much for taking the time to present today's webinar. Lots of great content. And for everybody else, thank you for joining us for today's webinar. We will stay online answering questions via chat for the next few minutes, but if you want to talk to Brad or Greg, please do give us a call at 888-696-2900, and we'll see you at the next Lunch with Haley webinar.